Happy Monday, guys. You're watching video 84, and today we are talking about seller paid closing costs, or also known as seller paid concessions. I get questions all the time about buyers' closing costs, and today's video is not about that. I did a video on that back in October. I'm going to link to it. Check it out if you want. Today's video is specifically about how frequent are sellers contributing to buyers' closing costs, how much are sellers contributing, and what kind of loan are these buyers obtaining when they're asking for closing costs. So for today's video, I analyzed 113 properties in the Central County priced between the $300,000 and $500,000 price point. I was looking for three primary metrics. Metric number one, I was looking for a transaction where the seller contributed a significant amount of closing costs, so I categorized that as $2,500 or greater. Metric number two, I wanted to see what kind of financing these buyers were securing when they eventually closed. And metric number three, how much were these sellers contributing? So if you're ready, I'm just going to share all of the information I found. After analyzing those transactions, 18% of the time, the sellers contributed a significant amount towards the buyer's closing costs. And when accumulating all of the property values, it comes out that $371 was the median price point and $7,300 was the average amount of closing concessions the seller provided towards the buyer. So that makes up about 2% of that purchase price, which would offset about 90% of any buyer's closing costs. Now, what really surprised me was the financing type. So 50% of the buyers were using a conventional loan, 45% were using a VA loan, and only 5% were using an FHA loan. So prior to conducting this research, I was expecting FHA and VA to be the dominating financing options and conventional being somewhere down in the lower percentile, when in fact I was absolutely incorrect and conventional was at the top, followed by VA and then FHA. And I was only assuming this because when using VA or FHA loan options, the down payment is significantly less than conventional, and I was assuming that buyers in this realm had less cash on hand and were more willing to ask for seller concessions at the end of the day, when in fact it's the other way around. It's the people that are sometimes putting down 20% and they're asking the seller to provide 2, 3, 4% seller concessions to offset that larger down payment. I thought it was pretty awesome that there's a good amount of sellers out there that are willing to provide concessions towards buyers' closing costs. Now, in some instances, these costs were as much as $13,000, which if you're bringing 20% to the table and then your closing costs on top of that, that $13,000 could offset quite a bit of those funds, and it can make it a little bit better for your pocketbook. And with interest rates as low as they are, why not leverage the monies into your purchase price and finance that amount if you're okay with that? So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Other than that, I'll see you next Monday.